I laugh at and vividly remember we hadn't been here, I think maybe it was the first winter. We hadn't been here very long, a couple of months. And it was the first time it snowed.
Oh.
And I'm sitting in the driver's seat of the bus, looking out the window, and snow came down, and I went, uh-oh. This was not in the plan.
Welcome to the Desert Lady Diaries podcast, conversations with women who have found their home in the Mojave Desert. I'm Dawn Davis, and this is episode 146. Find out more about the podcast at desertladydiaries.com and engage with the guests, other listeners, or me on Facebook and Instagram at Desert Lady Diaries. I invite you to listen through all the way to the end so you can hear Susan's song, Aftermath.
Susan Henry is the owner of Zannedelions Boutique and Gallery in downtown Joshua Tree, which includes the shops at Zanny's. Prior to becoming a business owner, Susan had a 40-year career as a professional musician. A multimedia artist, Susan started her jewelry business, Zannedelions, in 1998. She also sculpts welded rebar and kiln-fired recycled wine and beer bottles into cactus and other desert foliage under her business, Earthloving Art. Born in Corvallis, Oregon, this year, Susan marks 16 years in the desert. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks for having me.
Sure. What was your first experience with any kind of desert?
The first experience was my husband and I, Jesse, went down to the border of Mexico in our school bus. We wanted to take all the time that we needed to record our first CD in a very desolate place where very little English was spoken. And that's where we went to do that for 6 months. I was in Lukeville on the border of Sonora, Mexico, and lived there for 6 months, recording an album in the back of our school bus. It was way out in the boonies, and it was, everybody spoke Spanish, so we didn't really have much communication but with each other and the desert. On a few beers. But yeah, that was, as for what I feel that the term desert is about is not like Palm Desert, or it's the barren desert, which most of us are living in.
Right. When you were there in that desert, did you feel like there was anything special about it, or did you notice, where had you lived before that, before you went to this Mexican desert to record? Most
of my adult life was LA. So
really?
Yeah, it's what I definitely noticed was the serene, the silence, and the vast miles of nothing, which, was scary and comforting,
Did you find it inspirational?
Yes, it was. Now, especially when I reflect, and I feel the same here, I don't know what it actually does. It's just something inside that I feel connects.
It was kind of like when I came here for the very first time, and then I went back to LA, and there was a pull. There was something that was calling me here, and I felt like there was a reason for me to come back here and spend more time here. I didn't know what it was, but it was something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
How did you come to be in the Mojave Desert in Joshua Tree?
Jess and I where we were living was getting kind of rough, and Jess really wanted to move. And we entertained the idea of building our own place. So we looked around and found that up here was very affordable. So we chose here. It was actually a financial decision that we made to come up here and dig some dirt.
And dig you did.
Rather sand, but yes. There's a lot of dirt too.
Was it easy to find people to help you build your home here at that time?
No.
Or how did that all go down?
Huh?
How did that all go down?
Oh, it was the height of the building. Actually, we, being professional musicians, we assumed and probably never would have until then been able to get a building loan, but they were giving them away. So as a result, everybody was building and there was no people to help you, which it was quite an experience because we weren't contractors, we were just a couple of musicians. But the only choice she had was it's got to get done. So we're going to have to do it ourselves. So
Wow.
we did a lot of it ourselves.
How long did it take you from start to finish?
2 years.
Wow. And did you live in the bus at that time? Did you still
Yes.
have that?
Yes. It was funny because it was supposed to be a kit home. And so Jess said, well, I can put a kit together. Let's get this. And actually, it wasn't exactly a kit. All the materials just arrived. And he said, he talked me into it by saying, it's only going to be 6 months. It's going to go up in 6 months. 2 years later. How are we doing on that?
Yeah. Well, now talk to me about the material. So it was a kit. So did you buy it you didn't buy it online, or did you?
Yeah, pretty much. He found it. What it was, it's a special kind of material. It's insulated panels. And he liked it because it was efficient for heating and cooling. And it's like six inch deep of styrofoam that's sandwiched with 2 pieces of plywood.
I bet it's soundproof kind of too.
Oh yeah. That was a real challenge about it because it had all the dimensions had to be perfect. You couldn't make, because it had to be completely airtight to be sturdy and do the thing it was supposed to do. Yeah, it was a tremendous challenge. After we got through it, we said, after we've done this, we can do anything.
Oh my gosh.
And we often reminded ourselves of that as the years went by.
I imagine. Oh my gosh. Well, it's a beautiful place. So you did a great job.
Oh, thanks. There's a lot of flaws. I was thinking about that because I know what they are in the house, but there were some serious problems that it was not the stability of the house, but the glaring errors that had to be camouflaged artfully.
Well, and so you can do that, right? Because
Yeah,
that's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, you make it look like you mean it.
Yeah, exactly. Growing up in Oregon, how did you start your musicianship? Did you start playing in school an instrument, or did you just pick it up on the side?
My folks always encouraged all the kids to play. So they started me out on piano, and then I switched to guitar and just started playing in bands. I started getting paid to do it when I was 15 via playing sorority and fraternity parties. It was a college town. So it was quite an education.
I bet. Oh my God.
But yeah, I did a lot of schooling, but not to get started. I just kind of dove in.
Right. So how many different instruments do you play then? So guitar and piano and saxophone.
And that's it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, well, I told you my struggles with the piano because, with the flute, I'm playing the treble clef, but now with the piano, you got to learn.
Oh, yeah.
sides
Yeah.
Trying to figure that out, but eventually I'll get there. So
Yeah.
when you were growing up, did you then imagine that you would do that professionally, or were there other career goals that you had in mind?
No, I didn't have any other goals other than to play music. At the time, I didn't realize, at that young, it was like, first time they paid me, I went, you mean people pay? People get paid to do this? How cool. But I didn't have with this, I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. I just thought, well, this is a nice way to make a living. It's fun.
Yeah. Wow. So then from then on, did you just have bands that you were with, that you went out and played? How did that all come together for you to make it a 40-year career?
I actually, I played in a few bands in Oregon. And then when I went to California, I started doing singles. Most of the time I was doing like piano bars and hotel lounges, and it was always pretty loungy. No big stages.
Right.
Then I just got lonely. I wanted to play with other musicians, so I started seeking to do that.
And is that why you came to LA, for the musicianship?
Well, that and the nice weather. I was kind of tired of the gray skies.
Yeah. When did you move to LA?
As soon as I graduated from high school, actually. Well, no, actually, it wasn't LA. I went to the Bay Area.
Oh, okay.
My first stop was Santa Cruz, and then I went into San Francisco. And then from there, I ended up going on the road for a few years.
Where
And
did
then ended up in LA.
Yeah. Were you with a band when you went on the road?
No, I did that all by myself.
Oh my gosh. Where did you tour?
My first job was Esconaba, Michigan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. Then I ended up staying on the road. I had a booking agency at that time. God, you could just send a demo to a booking agency, and they if they thought you were good, they'd send you contracts. You had to beg for time off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they'd sign you for a year at a time.
And then just send you to all these different places.
Yeah, just send you a schedule of where you were going to be when. Those are the days, I guess. Yeah.
So tell me about some of, like, you must have some really good stories from being on the road like that. Are there any that you can tell?
Oh God. Oh, no, probably not. That's a lot of years ago. But it was a lot of fun. I have always enjoyed my road travels. And then also, and when especially it got a lot of fun when I joined Jesse's group, and a large group that, it was a lot of camaraderie and a lot of fun, and then also going on the cruise ships, because then you were all the other musicians and all the other crews. It was very fun and social.
About when did you start doing the cruise ship thing?
That was when it was winding down career-wise. We were getting older and the work was falling out. That was our last stint of about 7 years before we came to the lower desert.
Okay.
And I would say then it ended around about 98. That's when I went pretty active with my jewelry business.
Gotcha. Do you have a favorite place that you cruised to? Because you do have an opportunity to kind of get off and go visit.
Yeah. The best spot was Venice, of course.
Oh, wow.
That was the highlight of the cruise. Well, and we also liked the Caribbean. We liked Cozumel. It was fun too.
Talk to me about making jewelry.
Oh, well, I kind of tend to look forward to things, and I could see that the work for myself as a musician was winding down. So while on the cruise ship, there was a lot of free time. We really only had to do about 3 sets a day for the most part. And so I started just playing around with making jewelry and started wearing it on stage. And it was especially on formal night. It was pretty fancy, rhinestoney. I always liked rhinestones. I was a real, glamour gal when I was doing the stage thing. I mean, you got to work and have fun with it,
Yeah.
So the women passengers started approaching me about where did I get that stuff, and so I started thinking maybe I should pursue this. Something I can do after the music is done.
Wow. So is that how you also came once you were here and got your house built? How you decided to open a shop here in town?
Yeah, I did Village Fest for about 13 years. So I was doing art shows pretty much. So I started learning the retail thing. But again, 13 years of doing shows, I started tiring of that too. It's hard work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being out in the cold and wind and schlepping heavy equipment stuff. So I thought it would be fun. Plus, I have a very dear friend that has a wonderful boutique. And I used to go with her to do her buying, just to tag along and keep her company. And so she taught me a lot about how that was possible.
Nice. So you purchased the property where Zannedelions is now. And if for someone listening who has either maybe been here once or is here, it's on the Highway 62 at the corner of El Reposo. It has the wine bottle wall, which I imagine was your doing. Your wine bottle work. We'll get to that shortly. How did you make the decision, like, I want to open a shop and I'm going to buy a piece of property to do that with?
I was looking into going into Sun Alley, and the opportunity fell through. And I was just looking around and I saw the for sale sign for that place. And I thought, what the heck? I'm just going to go take a look at it, see what it's all about. And then, as you know, going in there, it just goes on and on and on. And my mind was just going crazy with the possibilities of it, So it was just, gotta have this place. We just gotta have it. I don't know how we're going to get it, but we gotta have it.
Yeah. And you did.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I was very inspired by a place down in Palm Springs that when I saw it, I said, this could so be a palapis, which,
Galapagos is the name of it.
yeah, it was beautiful. It was part nursery and part artist colony kind of thing. And it was so beautiful that corporations and weddings and stuff started getting booked there. And as a result, they'd hire bands, which I was one of the bands that went to see this place and just went, oh, this is just fantastic. And a little huts all over the place with artists in there doing their work. And it was just so cool.
That's really neat. So you're
Yeah.
there with that. I mean, you've made it, right?
Yeah. It was hard to see, but and I knew it couldn't happen right away because no one would survive. There wasn't enough business.
Yeah.
But it was always on my mind and then a couple of years ago, I just said, I think it's time to give this a shot.
Tell me about what kind of business was in there before you.
Tattoo parlor.
Okay.
And piercing.
Oh, okay. And you came up 16 years ago. So talk a little bit about what it was like here in the downtown Joshua Tree then versus what it's like now.
Wow. It was quite a bit different. There was the country kitchen, there was a saloon, and there was the Beatnik Cafe. Yeah. That really sticks in my mind. I'm sure there was other places, but those were the most prominent places. Yeah, it's pretty amazing now that I think,
Right.
you don't notice change as it's happening until you look back and go, oh yeah.
Right.
When we came up here, they didn't have Walmart, or they were just putting in Home Depot. We said, thank God for that.
I was going to ask when you were talking about putting the house together, if it came with like everything and the kitchen sink, or if you actually had to go to a building supply place for things.
Yeah, we had to do a lot of that stuff. And yeah, so it was timed very well for that. I think it opened up about 6 months after we started. And we would have been spending so much time running to the hardware store or down to the lower desert.
Right.
It would
Yeah.
have been 3 years before we got it done.
Right. So when you bought that property up here with the plan to buy, and you were like, okay, well, I guess we'll just live in the bus. So you did not keep your property down in the lower desert and go home and sleep and then come up here and do building and then go back down and sleep. You just cut it.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, our place sold real fast, faster than we thought. Because again, it was a building boom. Everybody had money. And it was kind of a surprise. It's like, suddenly we're living in the bus. And so we're on solar, put up like 4 solar panels, and life changed. The battery ran out at 10 at night and you were done.
Like the Fred Flintstone whistle guy.
Yeah, it was pretty, that wasn't the plan. A lot of that was not the plan. But you do what you got to do.
Right, exactly. You not only are doing like jewelry, do you do much of that still now, or do you find that mostly you're in the glass and the metal work?
I'm pretty mostly in the glass. I still have my website, and I have customers that really have been ordering from me for 20 years.
Wow.
That still order.
And are those custom pieces then?
No, it's just stuff that my ear cups in particular. I used to, when I was doing art shows, I was also doing a lot of bridal and a lot of one-of-a-kind jewelry, but that's the one-of-a-kind, the necklaces and that stuff just didn't sell online.
Gotcha.
Ear cups did very well for many years. And then when I quit doing shows, that started really falling off. But my customers for years still, order 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow, that's really great.
Yeah, it amazes me. I actually I had to look to see how much money that woman had spent in ear cuffs. I just had to see.
Is she keeping them for herself though, do you think, or is she giving them as gifts?
I think she's probably giving them as gifts.
Yeah.
Because there a lot of them say, oh, my friends all say, where did I get those? And it's an easy gift.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to worry about it fitting, and if they sincerely said they like them, then they'll probably like them for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you get into the glass and rebar side of artwork?
Oh, I've been working in glass, gosh, um, since I was in my early 20s. I went looking for some gels for the stage lights, which was really stupid. I thought, well, those plastic ones, they really break down fast, so maybe I'll get some colored glass. So I went into the glass shop, and then I saw that beautiful glass, and I saw a sign on the wall that said classes. So I signed up and bought a bunch of glass, and of course discovered that as soon as the glass went in front of those lights, they'd burst. But
Good thought, though.
but I really got into doing stained glass. But I never pursued it as any kind of career. I just made gifts for friends and family, and did stuff for the house. So I've always done it. Even when I went on the road with the guys, I insisted on bringing my stained glass stuff. They were going, how many times do we have to move this crap?
Right. It's not enough to move all the amps and the instruments and all this other jazz, but we got to.
No, and honestly, I didn't open it once. It was stupid. But so when I found that, I saw that idea for the bottle wall on Pinterest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I just said, oh my gosh, I have to have one of those. So I got my friends to donate their wine bottles. And they kept donating them, and I couldn't refuse them. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go online and see what people are doing with bottles. And I found this fabulous blog called Glass with the Past, where the woman, she's just genius and so gracious to give all this information on how to work in the kiln with bottled glass, and all the firing schedules and all that kind of stuff that would take years to figure out on your own.
Wow.
And I just went crazy with the knowledge that she gave, and started doing that. We had a rebar bender because we were making footers for the house.
Oh.
I thought, I can maybe, and then put it in, I do it kind of like at the reverse of stained glass. So I make the frame first in the rebar, and then cut the pieces just like you would for a stained glass piece. But it's the last thing you do instead of the first thing you do.
The ocotillos are my favorite because I think those are just one of my favorite desert plants. So when you make that, do you cut the bottle glass and to the shapes? I'm trying to figure out how you get from the recycled glass and beer bottles to one of your ocotillos.
Yeah. It's very labor intense. You do have to cut the bottle. With the ocotillas, the only part of the ocotilla or the beer bottle I use is the bottom. But so I cut off all the bottoms, and then I cut that round piece into pie-shaped pieces. Then a piece of wire is sandwiched in between two pieces of glass and fired in the kiln, so that it all melts together, so that I can wrap it around the ocotillo, the rebar.
Rebar. Wow. So how long, like for that particular piece, how much time does it take to make one of those?
I wouldn't want to know. I estimated on my big ones, they're around 1,300 leaves.
Wow.
So, and everything that goes into one of those leaves, it's not hours, but it's a lot of, and it's just one of those things that I just go into an om mode, not think about it. I just do it and do it and do it until it's done.
Kind of almost a meditative practice.
Yeah, and have faith that it's going to look really cool when it's done. The first one didn't look very cool, and it was like, oh man, that's not what I thought.
And all that time and energy. Yeah, but obviously you've worked on that and perfected it. So
yeah, and I was able to take what I did was I just put it all on straight pieces of rebar, and it just didn't have the same character. So I was able to take all those pieces off and start all over.
Oh my goodness. You have more patience than I do.
Like I say, if I thought about what I was doing, I tell people, no one would be as crazy as me to do this. Really.
Oh my God.
But I love it. I really do. It's just every time I open the kiln, it's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So the kiln melts the glass together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's different levels of some of that other stuff I do where the shattered glass. That was a happy error of my first learning of the kiln. That was not quite the length of time you should leave it in the kiln, but it caused it to stick to, I should put this shattered glass to clear glass, window glass, and it sticks to the window glass, but it doesn't lose its shape. So it still has those edges of the shattered, but they don't cut you or anything, but they still reflect the sun when it bounces off those.
Yeah.
The first time I saw them, the sun, I went, oh my, that's a thing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. That was a gift from God, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Having the experience that you have now here in the desert, if someone were to approach you and say, you know what, Susan, I'm thinking about moving to the desert, what are some things that you would tell them about living here or to be prepared for?
I would say, I would definitely warn them to be prepared to take some time. Though it's probably not as crucial now as it was then, but finding work and sustaining and getting used to the elements and all that, and getting to know people, so on and so forth.
I was thinking about the elements when you talked about living in the bus for 2 years. We get these stretches of 3-4 days in a row of, I don't know, 35 mile an hour plus wind.
Yeah.
Was there a point where you were like, maybe we should just go back down?
Oh, yes. Actually, I laugh at and vividly remember we hadn't been here, I think maybe it was the first winter. We hadn't been here very long, a couple of months. And it was the first time it snowed.
Oh.
And I'm sitting in the driver's seat of the bus, looking out the window, and snow came down, and I went, uh-oh.
Wasn't ready for this.
This was not in the plan. But yeah, and the brutalness of the heat too.
Yeah.
So, and again, that is something that takes time. I've adapted to it now.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it was really hot.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah, so it taking time, businesses and the store, the first couple of years, it was pretty sad. I'd bring my saxophone with me just to practice. And I'd have a couple of hours of practice. I was getting pretty good.
I thought you were going to say you'd stand out front and play to get people to come.
No. I don't think that would have brought them in.
Well, you never know. Oh, and speaking of that, we didn't really touch on your nonprofit.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
The jazz nonprofit or the music appreciation.
Yeah. Jess and I had, in 2010, we decided, we'd still been working. We'd been doing country clubs and all their special events. But we just decided it's time. And so we told the agent we were retiring. And we let that go by for a couple of years. And we just started picking up our instruments and jamming, and playing great old standards that we never did. We always were staying pretty close to commercial music and loving it. And we started going, wow, we love this again. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, why don't we see if there's some other people around that might like to do this? It'd be a lot of fun. And I always wanted to play big band music because the saxophone was my last instrument that I picked up at 35. So that was way past any kind of education, a high school band or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it took me quite a while to be able to be a good enough player to play with other people and read the music without them being very frustrated with my inability. But I always wanted that experience because there was a time when I was studying arranging and the band leader let me come into the big band and try to play saxophone, but I couldn't. But I loved sitting in the middle of that band with all those fabulous horns blasting out that beautiful music. So I thought, wow, here's a chance to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I did a little research after my experience. I volunteered for the Art Council for a while. I learned some things about nonprofits and I thought, that might be a way to go to get this thing to get some ground and be able to do some stuff, as in the free concerts that we did for all those years.
Yeah. And on second Saturdays, you had it all set up back there.
Yeah.
Get people.
Yeah, that was another thing when I saw the property. Go, the band can play here.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with me today and share a little bit about your coming to the desert and your life before the desert. But before I let you go, I am going to randomly select some questions for you to answer, and the answers will be available for my Patreon subscribers. And if you're listening and you're not familiar with the Patreon option, go to desertladydiaries.com, click on the support page, and sign up to be a patron of the podcast, where you will receive this exclusive content that we call Diary Unlocked. The first question will be, what's your favorite driving or road trip music? What was your most memorable birthday? What is something that was better back then than it is now? And last but not least, if you had the power to change anything at all, what would it be and where would you start? So if you want to hear Susan's answers to those questions, again, go out to desertladydiaries.com, click on the support tab, and sign up to become a patron of the podcast. Susan Henry, thank you so much again for being with me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Dawn. It was fun.
I have a shout out to Karen M. Thank you so much for signing up for the new episode newsletter. International Women's Day is March 8th. To celebrate, The State of Women, a media platform with global reach that gives women the tools to succeed as empowered entrepreneurs and intrepid investors, is holding a 2-day online event called Amplifying Her Voice. You'll hear from innovators, entrepreneurs, investors, and women on the front lines who have developed solutions to global issues at scale, addressing United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, shaping the global economy, education, food security, climate change, space exploration, and more. And you're invited to participate in main stage content and breakout workshops on global women's entrepreneurship, healing and wellness, and the latest in blockchain and cryptocurrency investing. The event is March 8th to March 10th online, and you can attend for as little as a $5 donation. To view the schedule, speakers, and to sign up, go to hopin.com/events/SHEQONOMI. I'll repeat that again in a moment. The State of Women combines offline events like their Global Summit Series and private equity roundtables with their digital properties, which include the State of Women Radio Network, of which Desert Lady Diaries is a part, their quarterly World Women Report, newswire, and website in partnership with the State of Women Institute. Again, you can sign up for the event at hopin.com/events/SHEQONOMI. You can also find the sign-up link on their Facebook page, The State of Women Institute. And if you're looking for another desert podcast, check out Mojave Memories with Annalise Kuiper and Cattell Byers. Annalise reads from her published works, sharing stories from her desert life on Copper Mountain Mesa and growing up in Kenya. Annalise was interviewed in episode 83 of the Desert Lady Diaries podcast. Mojave Memories is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much for listening.
I remember when your look changed, the night you taught me to dance, the moment when I afraid that we'd have a chance. I remember not wanting to let go. Love and laughter over the phone. The breathtaking sound of hello. Then the heartbreaking pain of goodbye. But in aftermath, memories, I want it all for you. But most of all, to find your way. I want that merry-go-round to stop at a peaceful place. I want your memory of me to bring only warmth to your heart and a smile to your face in the aftermath of love. After the pain's gone away, I remember limousines and champagne, passionate dreams finally coming true. Be more like newlyweds than the ones on the plane. Feeling closer than ever to perfect with you. But now I want it all for you. But most of all, to find your way. I want that merry-go-round to stop at a peaceful place. I want your memory of me to bring only warmth to your heart and a smile to your face in the aftermath of love. After the pain's gone away. I remember being misunderstood and still somehow understanding why, and believing when you finally spoke to me of love. So much so I never thought we'd say goodbye. But now I want it all for you. But most of all, to find your way. I want that merry-go-round to stop at a peaceful place. I want your memory of me to bring only warmth to your heart and a smile to your face in the aftermath of love. After the pain's gone away, in the aftermath of love. After the pain's gone away.